Imagine a small boy, not in a great city, but in the quiet English countryside. This was Isaac Newton, born on Christmas Day in 1642. He was born into a world lit by fire and powered by muscle. A world where the mysteries of the cosmos were still wrapped in ancient superstition. No one could have guessed that this quiet, often lonely child would one day give us the universe. He was not a remarkable student at first. He was more interested in his own world, a world of making things, of building intricate models, tiny windmills, water clocks. He was always asking why and how. This relentless curiosity was the seed of his genius. His early life was filled with observation. He did not just see things, he measured them, he studied them. There is a story of him as a boy, wanting to measure the strength of the wind. How would you do that? He did not have fancy instruments, so he used himself. He would jump with the wind, then jump against it. He measured the difference in the distance of his jumps. From this simple, clever experiment, he created his own scale to measure the force of the wind. This was the mind of Newton at work, even as a child, finding ways to turn the world into numbers, to translate the poetry of nature into the language of mathematics. When the Great Plague swept through England in 1665, it was a time of immense tragedy and fear. The University of Cambridge, where Newton was a student, shut its doors. He was forced to return to his family farm. For most, this would have been a setback, a period of waiting. But for Newton, these 2 years of solitude became his annus mirabilis, his year of wonders. Away from the rigid curriculum of the university, his mind was set free. It was here in the quiet of the countryside that he laid the foundations for the work that would change the world forever. The universe was whispering its secrets, and Newton was finally in a place quiet enough to hear them. It was during this time that the famous apple story is said to have happened. Did an apple really fall on his head? Probably not, but seeing an apple fall from a tree sparked a profound question in his mind. He wondered, if gravity can pull an apple from a branch to the ground, could that same force reach even higher? Could it be the very same force that holds the moon in its orbit around the Earth? This was a breathtaking leap of imagination. Before Newton, people believed the heavens and the earth were governed by completely different sets of rules. Newton dared to suggest that the laws of nature were universal. The same force pulling the apple also guided the moon. This single, powerful idea led to his law of universal gravitation. Every object in the universe, he proposed, attracts every other object. The strength of this attraction depends on how massive the objects are and how far apart they are. Suddenly, the motions of the planets, the pull of the tides, the path of a cannonball, all could be explained by one elegant mathematical law. But to describe these motions with precision, he needed a new kind of math. So, during this same period of isolation, he invented it. Before Isaac Newton, the universe was a place of mystery and myth. The movements of the planets were explained with complex mystical systems. The physical world was chaotic and unpredictable. But after Newton published his masterpiece, the Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica, everything changed. This book, often just called the Principia, was more than just a collection of discoveries. It was a new way of thinking. It showed that the universe was not chaotic. It was a grand, intricate machine, governed by precise, knowable mathematical laws. It was as if humanity had been living in a dark room, and Newton had suddenly thrown open the curtains to let in the light. The impact was immediate and profound. Scientists were stunned. Philosophers were stunned. Thinkers across Europe were stunned. The Principia provided a complete mathematical framework for understanding the physical world. For the first time, astronomers could accurately predict the positions of planets. Engineers could calculate the stresses on bridges and buildings. Navigators could chart the seas with greater confidence. The scientific method, observation, hypothesis, experimentation, was now supercharged with the power of mathematics. Science was no longer just about describing what happened. It was about explaining why it happened and predicting what would happen next. This was the birth of modern science. Newton's path to discovery was not an easy one. His genius was forged in a crucible of personal challenges and professional challenges. He was a deeply sensitive and private man, prone to intense mood swings and bouts of depression. This solitary nature made collaboration difficult. He first presented his groundbreaking work on light and optics to the Royal Society. He was met with harsh criticism, particularly from Robert Hooke. Hooke claimed Newton's ideas were not entirely his own. Stung by the public dispute, the thin-skinned Newton retreated from scientific debate for years. He chose silence over conflict, nearly depriving the world of his greatest work. His determination, however, was as powerful as his intellect. During his years of withdrawal, he did not stop working. He continued experiments and calculations in private, filling thousands of pages with his notes. Through persistent encouragement from his friend, the astronomer Edmund Halley, Newton agreed to publish his work on motion and gravity. Halley recognized the monumental importance of Newton's discoveries, convinced him to write the Principia, and paid for its publication out of his own pocket. Without Halley's faith and persistence, the Principia might have remained locked away. The sheer mental effort required to produce the Principia was immense. Newton worked with a ferocious intensity, often forgetting to eat or sleep. He became so absorbed in calculations that the outside world ceased to exist for him. This obsessive focus was a source of his power and a great personal burden. He wrestled with the deepest questions of existence, armed only with paper, a quill, and the unparalleled power of his mind. He had to invent new mathematical techniques to solve the problems he posed. It was a lonely, exhausting, heroic intellectual struggle against the unknown. Overcoming these challenges required more than intelligence. It required immense fortitude. He overcame the skepticism of his peers, his own psychological frailties, and the daunting complexity of the problems. He pushed through years of painstaking work, driven by an insatiable need to understand.